Well, hey, gang, welcome this evening to Meet and Greet with Josh Clark. My name is Jeff Buser, and I have the absolute distinct privilege of sitting beside this man tonight. We had a campaign meeting earlier on this afternoon and today, and really felt like just to come on together today for a little bit and talk to you about what we're doing and why we're doing it, and the passion, the heart, and the mission behind Josh's call into running for the U.S. Senate. Got to know the Clark family very well, met them through church and a small group several years ago, and just a blessing for our children to do life together and for our wives to do life together, and to really stand up with Josh and really push hard forward for this U.S. Senate race. So I just wanted to introduce y'all to Josh Clark and ask questions and be a part of this, and I really want to connect with y'all future on the campaign trail and everything else that we have going on. So without further ado, Josh, I'm gonna turn it over to you. I'm gonna slide out. I'm gonna find Chelsea.
Okay.
And, let y'all have some time to learn Josh and be able to be involved in his life.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you so much, folks. Good afternoon. Make to be with you. As Jeff said, we just got through with a campaign meeting, and it's now time for our weekly meet and greet. Excited to make some new friends and share with you why we're so passionate about what we're doing. First of all, let me tell you what this is not about. Okay, some of you are hearing, hey, there's a celebrity in the race. Well, that's not me. I'm not a celebrity, but and I can't run the 40-yard dash in 4 seconds. I didn't win a Heisman Trophy, but I am a patriot just like all of you. You may say, how do you know we're all patriots? Well, if you're sitting here watching this today and you care about who's running to serve you for the next 6 years in the U.S. Senate, you're a patriot. And I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for being here today. So I want to tell you over the next few minutes a little bit about who I am, why I'm running, what the issues are, why I believe, with all humility, that I am the only person who has the energy to win this race and the experience to deliver results on day one. So, and then you're also going to meet my better three quarters, my wife, who's going to join us here in just a little bit and share with you why she's all in. Because this is a family decision. This is a big commitment. It's a privilege to get to run, to serve our state, to serve our country, but it definitely affects all of us in the family. So you're going to meet her. So I think you'll find that to certainly be the highlight. So first, a little bit about me. I grew up as the oldest of 10 children in Suwanee, Georgia, North Georgia. And I am, as I said, the oldest of 10, grew up on a small farm. My father was a pastor, and we were very poor. In fact, I like to say we were the poor talked about. In fact, I was swapping somebody else to talk with earlier, talking about how poor they were, and said they bought clothes at Walmart. I said, well, we bought the clothes at a secondhand store, or pass-me-downs, hand-me-downs. But you know what we were rich in? We were rich in, learning. My family raised us to serve others. We were raised with good American values like hard work, faith in God, and service. My mother was very sick, so from the earliest age, I learned to serve others. I learned to help out and contribute as the oldest in a large family. She didn't like being happened to be on the sideline because she's a go-getter, hard worker, but and wanted to take care of all of us. But when you're sick, one of the things I learned early on, when you lose your health, that's the most valuable asset. So anyway, we all stepped up, and I was also I was homeschooled. So I loved history. I loved learning about our founding fathers. And so right out of high school, I got involved. I got involved in races, campaigns, while I was building a business, and ended up building a couple of businesses in my 20s that are still around today. But I also was giving a lot of time towards helping get conservatives that I felt were running for the right reasons, that were constitutional conservatives that understood the limited role of government. I'd get behind them, roll up my sleeves, and served on a lot of campaigns in a lot of different capacities within the Republican Party as well. Never in paid positions, just volunteering, because I believe it's one of the verses that I learned growing up, is that when the godly are in positions of authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked are ruling, the people moan. And I think we'll all agree that today we've got, they're not all bad or all wicked, but we have a lot of people that are serving for the wrong reasons and have lost what it really means to serve others, what it means to be less about us and more about them. What it means, John F. Kennedy, who said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what can you do for your country? We've lost the idea that service should be in memory of those who have given everything so that we can be free. You know, I'm blessed to have 4 brothers who served in the military, 3 of them on the front lines. My wife has 4 brothers who served, 13 immediate family members. And so, you know, when I served, you know, I would think about that, think about passing on, ensuring that we pass on liberty to the next generation, because it's not passing the bloodstream. It's got to be fought for, defended, guarded, protected. And so I ended up serving in the Georgia House of Representatives as a state representative underneath the Gold Dome in Atlanta, Georgia. I served 2 terms, and then I walked away unopposed. I've always believed that public service should be for a season and not a lifetime career. In fact, now that I'm running for the U.S. Senate, one of the first things I did was I signed a term limit pledge saying that I will drop a term limit resolution calling for term limits for the House and the Senate. Because I think too often, the longer folks are staying in Washington, they're getting that Potomac fever. They're forgetting what this is all about. But I'll tell you, during my time in public service, it was really a privilege to get to serve our state. I was able to deliver balanced budgets, cut taxes for Georgia families, help reduce the state debt, help champion help to push the fetal pain bill that took Georgia from being in the top 5 states for abortions down to significantly reducing that number. And I'll never forget the first conversation I had with my mother about are we Republican or are we Democrat? She said something that will always be with me, will always be a guide for me. She said, son, parties change, but principles remain. She said, as long as the Republicans standing for life, we support and we vote Republican. So those principles, and then she went on to talk to me about other things that are important, you know, like limited government and personal responsibility and freedom and standing with Israel, our ally in the Middle East, for example. And so I ended up realizing that I agree with Mom, that I was a Republican as long as Republicans stuck to those principles. And so I was also I earned the Defender of Liberty Award during my time at the state capitol for my consistent conservative voting record. The Georgia Right to Life, I earned the highest endorsement from them, the highest endorsement from the NRA. So again, I'm proud of my track record of not just saying the right things, because I've learned that talk is cheap. And it doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, candidates are ill-meaning or, you know, have ill intent. But what I've learned, again, it is easy to say the right things or consultants to tell you what to say, but it's an entirely different thing to actually legislate that way. And that's why I believe we just cannot roll the dice when we elect somebody. We need to, and that's why you're taking the time to be here today. We need to very carefully select who's going to work for us. And if you give me the privilege of serving you, that's who I work for, by the way. I work for you. And so I ended up, again, I left unopposed though. For the last 8 years, I've served as a corporate executive for an international company, working with a company that sold some health products that turned my mother's health around, that I'm very passionate about. And you kind of see a central kind of theme of my life. I've devoted my life at my mother's urging and encouragement growing up, both my parents, but my mother just would constantly challenge me to use all of us, to use our gifts, talents, and abilities to make a difference. How can you change the world? And so that has been my guiding principle. What platform will allow me to make the greatest impact and during my short time here on earth? And so I felt like here a while back, I just really troubled about what's happening to our country, watching our freedoms being eroded, watching the lack of civility, and felt like the Lord was calling me back to public service. And I had two people call me out even over just a few days out of the blue. I mean, it's truly was incredible. What's a coincidence of it happening once, but for just to feel the Lord really burdening me, flipping a switch, changing my heart, thinking I was done with public service, to feeling called back, and then having two people that I did not and talk to about this, calling me out, challenging me, and my wife saying, honey, I believe that you are called to do this, and that I'm willing to make the sacrifices as a family to step up as you step up to serve this country. And so some of the issues there's a lot of issues I'm passionate about. You go to my website, votejosh.com, you see a picture of our family, you can see a lot of issues, but three primary issues that I'm very concerned about. Number one, I'll say is budget. We are watching our federal debt just continue to escalate. It's when I ran for office 12 years ago, we were at 13 trillion. And today we're at 29 trillion, and we've raised the debt ceiling to over 31 trillion. Y'all, this has got to stop, because here's the way I see this. I see this as we are literally, it's not how I see it, it's the reality. We are literally robbing from our children and from our grandchildren. And it is not okay for us to steal from them in order to get the pet projects and things that we want today. It's wrong. It's like going to the bank and borrowing against your children's future so that you can live in a nice home today. Would that be right? No. Previous generations have sacrificed so the next generation can have it better. And now we're moving in the opposite direction. So I would say budget is absolutely critical. We can't just keep on pushing this off, assuming that there won't be any repercussions. The repercussions are coming, and we're at that tipping point. So, I learned growing up, as I said, the poor are talked about. I was the oldest of 10, a father's in ministry with very little. I learned the difference between needs and wants. And when I served on appropriations in the Georgia state legislature, I'm proud of my record for that. So I'm going to deliver for you in Washington. Second is borders. You can't have a nation. You can't have national security. You can't have a country without having borders around that country. And here's the risk of that. And let me tell you something. I am a compassionate conservative. Okay. But I believe you can be a compassionate conservative without compromising principles, without, while having a steel spine. Okay. Let me talk about why borders, having secure borders and protected borders, is a matter of compassion. Here's what happens when your borders are open. We were building walls, and y'all, we gotta use just some common sense here. Some of these crazy arguments against building a wall is insane. And yet at the same time, President Biden puts up a fence around his property. We have a fence on our property to keep people out, animals in, right? It makes sense. We need to have a fence up, because without that, we have drugs flowing across our border. In fact, we have more than three times as much opioids flowing across our border as we did last year. This is serious. This is life and death. What do I mean by that? Guess what's happening? The number one now cause of death between 18 and 45-year-olds is opioids. And guess where most of that's coming from? China. China's declared war on the United States, and they are silently killing our youth. And if you think it only affects those who are peddling drugs on the street or, choosing a life of crime, you're absolutely wrong. Just yesterday, I heard a story of a young lady who fell 2 stories, and a friend, while she was waiting on her appointment with the surgeon, a friend offered her a pill, and she thought it was just a painkiller. Turns out, guess what? The DEA has seized 20.4 million counterfeit pills containing fentanyl. Over 40% were deadly, had amounts that had lethal, deadly amounts in the pill. This is serious, and don't wait till it gets close to home. So I'm just really really, it's sad to see how this issue is being ignored. We've got to stand up and do something about it. So So again, we got drugs flowing over, sex traffickers. We've got to end sex trafficking. I mean, it's our girls. We're talking. I have 4 daughters. This is not okay. Young boys, young girls, they're being trafficked. And so many issues here, and it affects everybody, all backgrounds, all nationalities, all colors are being affected. It's compassionate. Close the border. Freedom. Y'all, vaccine mandates. You don't mandate companies and force them. If they want to require that, that's one thing. But for Biden to issue an executive order outside the limited restraint of the Constitution, the limited powers, is absolutely unconstitutional. And whether you are for the vaccine or against the vaccine, you know what? I seriously support both sides. It's okay. I'm all for you choosing to get the vaccine, but we must not mandate that. That is a very dangerous and very slippery slope that we cannot go down. So I'm looking forward to hearing how the Supreme Court is going to rule on that issue here shortly. We've got to curb the power of these tech giants. They are stifling free speech, and they've used Congress passed Section 230, which allowed these monopolies to get to this point where they can stifle our free speech and erode. I mean, to think that a president would lose his voice, whether you agree or disagree, while the president of Iran and Venezuela have their voice. That's insane. It's unbelievable. And to think that doctors are being told how they can and can't take care of their patients. They're being told how to care for their patients. The government's getting in between the doctor-patient relationship. So that's wrong. The IRS has been weaponized. Religious freedom is under assault. I don't know if you realize this, but we're having tons of cases of religious liberties being taken away. And so anyway, I stand for freedom. I stand for liberty. It's not passed to the next generation, the bloodstream. It's going to be fought for, defended. So I believe that together that we can overcome. I believe we can overcome these challenges just like previous generations have done before them. Time after time after time, previous generations have stood up to the challenges facing them, and they've come together as a family. We're one family. Many different colors, many different backgrounds, but we're one family here in America. And we've got to stand as a family united and tackle these challenges. And so speaking of family, as I mentioned earlier, we're doing this as a family. We have 6 children blessed with ages 6 to 18. And we had a family meeting and they all said, Dad, we're on board with you. This is our future too. In fact, it was it really touched me, I have to tell you, because they understand how important our liberties are. They've watched their uncles fight and have bullets whizzing by them and lose their comrades into close friends and serving in Afghanistan. So they understand how important this is. And thankfully, we're trying to raise them like our parents did, that life's not about us, life is about serving. And so I want you to meet my wife. I am absolutely incredibly blessed to have been married to her now for 20 years coming up. And she proposed to me when she was 5. Without her here to confirm it, you wouldn't believe it. I'm the lucky one here. Chelsea, why don't you?
Oh, well, good evening, everyone. It is so good just to have you join us for this meet and greet and get to learn a little bit about what we are so passionate about and why we are all in as a family. So yes, that is true. I did propose to Josh when I was 5 years old, and lucky enough that he finally agreed 17 years later. But you guys, I am just so excited that as a family, we're in this to fight the good fight together, to take back this U.S. Senate seat and stop this radical agenda that is being ushered in Washington in quite a rapid, fearful pace. So yeah, we had that family meeting, and it was neat to see the kids come together and say, hey, let's do this as a family, and understanding that whether you have children in your life or loved ones, like that burden has been heavy on all of us, especially these past 2 years. I think it's been we just kind of feel that we're not, there's not this togetherness, and as a family we realize that we overcome every challenge by gathering together, by regrouping and being that team. And that's who we are as Georgians. That's who we are as Americans, that for every obstacle that has come in our way, we can know we agree on one thing. It's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. No matter where you are, I know that is something you want for your children, for the loved ones. And so when we can bring that message, we provide hope. And that is what I think our children are realizing, like, hey, together we can save the America that we grew up with, that we see is changing rapidly. So I'm just so excited to be in this good fight together and just get this hope, this message of hope out. So a little bit about Josh, you guys. Thankfully, I've known him forever. Literally, like, I'm 37 years of my life, I've known this guy. So I met him when I was 2, just gave away my age. But I got to witness firsthand as a little girl, and I know this is why I fell in love with him, because he would give the shirt off his back. He was always looking to serve others. And it was just, neat as a little girl getting to witness that. And then having, the first row, a front row seat. As we campaigned, he mentioned that he was a state legislator, served for 2 terms, and sending him off, down to the state capitol, knowing that he's going to take that backbone, but that compassionate heart that he has for others, and just love on Georgia and serve Georgia with that public servant's heart that he has and will continue to have. And so I know that he's going to go to Washington. He's going to go with that backbone. He has the energy and the experience, and that is what we need. We cannot gamble, you guys. We're talking about a seat for 6 years, the U.S. Senate seat, 6 years up there, fighting for us, being the voice. Will your candidate have the stamina, the energy, the experience to go forth on day one and fight? And I know he does, because I've witnessed firsthand him serving our state, and now he gets to go serve up in Washington as our next U.S. Senator. He will serve honorably, and I know he'll come back the same guy that I fell in love with when I was 5, and the same husband, the same father, and the same friend that we all know. And so I cannot wait to crisscross the state and get to meet so many of you and just share that message of overcoming together and the hope that we can have when we do this together and we face these challenges with experience and the energy to get out there and make it happen. So you guys, I am so excited to come alongside of you guys, and we appreciate you so much being on this call. Have a wonderful evening. I'm going to step out now and let him finish.
Aren't I blessed? You see how lucky I got, and to have a wife. This is something that you don't do unless it's a calling, and unless your family feels called to it as well. So we look forward to, as Chelsea said, seeing you as we crisscross the state of Georgia on a bus as a family, talking about the values and the principles that's made this country what it is today. And as Chelsea said, we aren't, even though the challenges, we're at that tipping point, but I have hope and I have faith, as Chelsea said, that we can overcome together. I want to share with you a little joke, a little humor in the midst of some serious topics that we're talking about here. But make no mistake, the punchline of this joke really has a lot of purpose and meaning. It's a joke that I heard over a decade ago, and I never forgot it. So you'll understand why. So there was a U.S. Senator who was on his way to an event, and he got run over by a Mack truck. And all of a sudden, he's before the pearly gates. And there is St. Peter's. St. Peter asked him, would you like to go to heaven or hell? And he said, well, if it's a choice, I would choose heaven for sure. And he said, well, no, the way it works here, our policy is you're going to spend a day in hell and a day in heaven, and then you make your decision. He said, well, if that's the way it must be. So next thing you know, he's going down, down, down. The doors open, and to his surprise, it's a beautiful golf course. He sees his friends off, lots of friends down there, all teeing up and having a good old time. And that night, they're eating steak and caviar and drinking champagne and good old party. And then pretty soon, the time's up, and the angel comes down and says, all right, it's time to go up to heaven. He says, wow, I can't imagine this being any better. And next thing you know, he's up on the clouds, worshiping the Lord with the saints and having a grand old time. And pretty soon, the moment of decision comes. And the angel says, where do you want to go to spend eternity, in hell or in heaven? He said, well, gosh, I never thought I'd say this, but, I think I'll choose hell, seeing as that all of my friends are down there. So he says, okay, your decision is final. He says, all right. So he goes down, 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 doors open. He steps out, and to his horror, it's a desert land, fires everywhere. Everybody's dressed in rags. He's mad. He's angry. And so he goes and looks for the devil, and he says, I don't understand what happened. The devil says, oh, that's easy to explain. Yesterday we were campaigning, and today you voted. So I think the moral, the principle of the story is this: choose wisely. We're at that point where we can't roll the dice. We don't have time for on-the-job training. We need somebody who's tried, true, and proven. As Chelsea said, appreciate her words, has the energy to win, and I do have relentless energy, and the experience to deliver on day one. So, I'm not a celebrity, but I'll go out and I'll deliver for you. And I understand the Constitution, and I will fight for that. And so, the last thing as I wrap this up, I want to ask you, will you consider joining us? I'd like to ask for your vote. I'd like to ask for your support. Will you go all in? We're blessed to have a team around us that is all in. Who you heard introduce me at the beginning, Jeff Boozer, he was the CFO of Reeves Young Construction, one of the largest construction companies in the Southeast, walked away from all of it because, like you, he's a patriot. And he said, Josh, I'm all in with you for a year on the campaign trail without a salary. He said, you know what? I want every dollar to go to getting out the vote, and then I'll serve with you 6 years in Washington. And so just really blessed with patriots surrounding us like that. Multiple people I could talk about, brothers who are walking away from everything to be a part of this with me. We're all in. We're making the sacrifices as a family, to be able to go a year without a salary and just get out there and crisscross the state and take back the Senate. This is the most important race in the country this year if you want to stop Biden's and Raphael Warnock's radical socialist big government agenda. I do not believe that we need to continue this one-party rule. Do you? We need to take back the Senate. So I need your help. So will you do me a favor? Will you do 3 things? Will you pray for us? We need your prayers. I believe in the power of prayer. And number 2, will you commit to becoming a Minuteman or a Minutewoman? And will you go to our website, votejosh.com, click on Get Involved, and then check all that apply, yard signs, whatever applies to you. But most importantly, at the top, will you be a Minuteman? That simply means that you'll commit to going out there and identifying at least 5 people who will vote for me, who will get involved, and they'll find 5 people, who will find 5 people. And if we'll do that, that means we'll avoid a runoff. We'll be able to run a campaign on a streamlined budget. And I know how to build grassroots movements. I've spent my career doing it. And I've also volunteered and served in many capacities. And again, I won a race 12 years ago that nobody said we could win against an opponent that our state newspaper said would be the next governor. We won by a landslide. So I know the challenge is here, very real, but together we can overcome. Together we can win. Will you commit to being a Minuteman or a Minutewoman? And of course, if you decide to make a contribution, we appreciate that too. We do need all the help we can get. You can find the details on that on the website as well. But more than anything, I ask for your prayers and I ask you for you to text your friends. So I want to end by sharing with you the Patriots Pledge. Again, this is very personal to me. I have a great-great-great-great-grandfather who fought in the Revolutionary War and 4 brothers who served. It's called a Patriots Pledge. And this is found in the pocket, the scrap of paper this was written on, in a soldier that gave his all, literally, in World War I. It said, America must win this war. Therefore, I will work, I will save, I will sacrifice, and I will endure. I will fight cheerfully and do my utmost as if the issue of the whole struggle depended on me alone. Martin Treptow. That's how we're going to approach this. We're going to give our all. We're going to give everything. Thank you for giving your time today. If you decide to join us, I'm so grateful. In fact, this is a very humbling challenge because I recognize I can't do it on my own. Doesn't matter past accomplishments, things I've been blessed to be able to do. This is one of those. It takes a team. Thank you. God bless. And if you have any questions, please go to our Facebook page, go to our website. You can send an email, you can comment, and I'll be sure to do my very best to answer those questions. Take care. God bless. God bless America.